She was also fortunate to have a wonderful group of neighbors who watched over her, helped her in many ways, and became her friends. And I would like to introduce Mark DeGarmo now. He is one of her neighbors. He lives right across the street from her house.
I'm not at all surprised that there's so many people here, an overflowing crowd, because you know, we could tell, all of us, there's several neighbors here, that we're fortunate enough to have Ahdel as a neighbor. She was the most kind and giving, and really a woman ahead of her time. As I listened to a lot of these comments, it really struck me, the sum of all those comments was that she was way ahead of her time, very progressive, very kind. I sort of served as the itinerant handyman. Anytime a VCR or a remote control or something would vex her, and that was probably the only thing that could vex her. She was very up on her current events. I'd always see her sitting at her table reading her newspaper or devouring some book or periodical, and she was so curious about anything that you as a person were doing. And I was fortunate enough that you know, I got to do some interesting things from time to time, and she would always want to discuss those things. But as I was getting ready for today, I started thinking back, well, now when was the first time that I met Ahdel? And oddly enough, it was under sort of duress, and that my dog at the time, Churchill, had gotten out of our yard, had run over to her house, because Ahdel was, she was sort of like Snow White, you know, any little stray animal, you know, be in the neighborhood. She had this collection of cats, and of course my dog just wanted those cats so bad. I ran across the street, and her yard doesn't have a fence on our side, so I ran into the backyard, and this commotion, of course, was happening with me trying to control my dog and the poor cats, you know, running for their lives. But Ahdel came out onto the back porch, and here's this stranger, you know, in her backyard with this dog that's attacking her cats. And even then, like, I was ready for, you know, to get yelled at or screamed at or something, but it wasn't that at all. She was just so kind and, you know, wanted to know who I was and why I was in her backyard. So I explained that I was the neighbor across the street, and I was so sorry, and please, you know, just forgive me, and I'll get this dog corralled as soon as I can. But she wanted to, okay, who are you and where do you live? And from that, we have a Christmas party each year for the neighborhood, and I told my wife about this incident, and she said, well, we ought to invite her. Let's have her over to our party. So we invited Ahdel, and at that time she had her partner Dick living with her, and so, you know, we sort of made this plan. Well, we're probably going to have to go over there and help her, you know, get over to the party. And we were very concerned about her safety. But, you know, she and Dick just ambled right on over there. And then once we got him inside, I thought, well, maybe we should just offer him a soft drink. Berry juice or something. And she was so kind, she let me go through the whole deal, and then she said, well, what do you have back in the bar? And I said, well, Ahdel, we can fix you anything you want. And she looked up and she said, well, I'll take a Crown Royal on the rocks. So then, you know, we just sort of, it was a sort of tradition that we would get a bottle of Crown Royal for Dick and Ahdel, just for them, and they would manage to cruise through that. And then the trick was, you know, how are we going to get them home? But they, you know, that was nothing. They just pop up and see you next year, Mark. But then she wanted to reciprocate, of course, so she invited us to her Christmas party. And any of you, and I'm sure many of you who have attended one of her Christmas parties, I have never seen something like that, in that her layout was always just so swank, and everybody was dressed real nice. Not to say that our neighbors don't dress nice at our party, but we're a little more informal gathering. Hers was a little more formal. But then, of course, the big moment was the poetry reading, at midnight, and I had never, seen that at a Christmas party, but it was so captivating and so wonderful. And Tunny was one of the people who got up and performed. But Ahdel so loved, giving a party, being part of a party, throwing a party, and then over the years, as our relationship grew, and we knew each other for 16 years, I started kind of going back over everything. I'd go over there and do something silly. The cable box and the remote, those were the two things that she needed the most help with. And she always wanted to give me something, before I left, and so she would buy me candy. I'm now a 53-year-old, I was a grown man, but I thought that was so sweet that she would want to give me candy. And I kept saying, Ahdel, this is really not necessary. And she would say, well, now what candy do you like? I hadn't really thought about candy in a long time. But finally, we settled on chocolate. So she felt compelled, to, give me candy each time I was over there. I'd gladly take it and go home. But I want to say that, not that she needed a lot of help, because she would scare us sometimes with the things that she could do. One day she told me that she had been an acrobat or some kind of athlete and just, bent over and touched her toes and was going to show me that she could still do a cartwheel. And I said, it's really not necessary. I believe you, I know. And it was her mobility and her ability to just kind of, she would still go to the store. It was still just a year or two ago that I think she gave up driving and going to the store, and we would offer all the time, hey, can we pick you up something? But she was totally self-sufficient and never really, just broke the mold as far as I was concerned about what a single older lady could do. And she was just a real joy and a real love, and I know all the neighbors, we are going to miss her, but by the same token, she gave us something, that we're going to keep, and she definitely, although I wasn't related, she reminded me of my grandma, and she treated me, as a extended member of the family, and she was just so classy and graceful and way ahead of her time. And she was a real joy, but I know a lot of you know that. So anyway, we're real thankful, and it's an honor, really, to share that.